Mature content. The following stream contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences, including mature themes, strong language, and potentially sensitive material. Viewer discretion is advised.
Meow. Meow.
Giddy up.
Hey, J-Bone Nation.
No, I will not make out with you.
Shaming of Jay.
Doing what?
Well, actually pretty nice little Saturday. We're gonna go to Home Depot. Yeah, buy some wallpaper, maybe get some flooring, stuff like that. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time.
Boom. Roasted.
DJ. Meow. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for being here. We are going to do a rewatch. Sarah Boone took the stand. She just got off the stand maybe 15 minutes ago, and we're going to check it out. Thanks for being here, everybody. What's up, Elizabeth L., Kim, Afton, Taryn, Raul, Pokemon, Villanelle's Boots, Joanne, Mrs. B, Deja, Taryn, did I say? I always forget. Madeline, Baby Bo, Lisa. Thanks, everyone, for being here. So I'm going to get into it, but a couple of things real quick. Just first thing, I may have a special guest joining, not tonight, but hopefully maybe later this week. Someone who has gone to, who has been at the trial, went to, I think, opening statements and jury selection at least the first couple of days. A former friend of the show, well, still a friend of the show, a former woman who rocks, who lives right by there, Alina Burrows. Alina Burrows, hopefully she's going to be, she had some computer issues, but I'm hoping to have her on maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, not sure. She's going to come on and talk about this case, Sarah Boone. All right, I'm going to get right into it, but there's a couple things that I want to just initial impressions about this. I was not impressed with the prosecution. If you guys don't know, she already did direct, she already did cross and redirect. Sarah Boone is done. She is done for her testimony. So I was not impressed with the prosecution. I'll tell you that right off the bat. But a couple of things that I started thinking about. Two other Florida trials that calm down, Jerry, that I started thinking about. One, Ashley Benefield, because if you guys don't know, Sarah's going, she's alleging she was, she was battered. This is a battered spouse. She was scared. And I wasn't really buying what she was putting down. Some of the stuff seemed like her stories were just, I don't know. So it made me think of Ashley Benefield because I believed Ashley, but a lot of people didn't. And then the jury didn't believe her either. So I don't know. And the other thing was, I didn't think the prosecution did a great job, but I know a lot of people didn't think that Georgia did a great job with Charlie, but then she got the conviction. So you just never know. Let's get into it. Thank you all for being here. What's up, Donna? Is it Joanne's birthday? Do I see it's Joanne's? Is that what she means? I don't know. That's what she means. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Oh, it is Joanne's birthday. Happy birthday, Joanne. Hope you're having a great day. That's awesome. Happy birthday. You're the best. All right, so here we go. Let's check it out. I'm probably going to put it on 1.25, 1.5. We'll see how it sounds. Let's go. This is not day one. Let me update the ticker. And here we go.
We recognize our jury. First.
You should get a shower, whole truth, and another truth. So what we got? I do.
All right, ma'am. You can take a seat. And if you could, state and spell your name for the record for us.
Sarah Boone, 101077.
And could you spell your name?
SARAH E-O-O-N-E.
All right, thank you very much. Sir, you may inquire.
Ms. Boone, would you please tell the jury where you were born and raised?
Atlanta, Georgia.
You were born in Atlanta?
I was born in Atlanta.
And how long did you stay in Atlanta before you moved here to Florida?
I was 3 years old, 3 or 4.
Okay. And from that time, y'all moved, you and your family, your mother and father, moved to Orlando?
And my grandparents.
Okay. Y'all all moved down from Atlanta down to Orlando?
Yes, and my 2 brothers.
Okay. And were you raised here essentially from that time on?
Yes.
And you resided here in Orange County, Florida that entire time?
Yes.
Okay. And did you go to high school here locally?
I did.
Where did you go to high school?
Edgewater.
Okay. And tell the jury, how old were you when you graduated?
I was 18 years old.
Now, I know you lost your mother and father. I know you lost your mother and father in your teens and in your 20s. Is that true?
I lost my grandfather when I was a sophomore in high school, and I lost my father when I was a senior. And then my mother...
If you're coming in late, I have this at 1.5. I want to try to get through as much of this as I can here, because she is done, folks. She is done.
passed away a few years after that, and then my grandmother passed away after my mother died.
All right, so you were in your 20s when all that was going on?
Yes.
Okay. And then at some point in your 20s, you met Brian Boone?
I did, yes.
All right. And how long did y'all date before you married?
A good handful of years. I helped my family with paying mortgage and bills for the house since my father had passed away and my grandfather, so...
So you worked outside the home?
I did.
Okay. Can you tell the jury when you said you and Brian Boone dated for a while? Do you remember when y'all married?
I do.
Could you tell the jury when y'all were married?
The year?
Yeah. You remember the date?
It happened to be, yes, that after my mother passed away, that he had waited to ask me to marry him because he knew it would be...
Sustained. Just answer the question if you can, Ms. Boone. Are you a little bit nervous?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, just tell the jury if you remember the date that you and Brian Boone married.
August 21st, 2004.
Okay. And had y'all lived with each other for a short time before that?
Short time.
Yes. Okay. After you married, how long was it before y'all had any children?
Gosh, 6 years?
Okay. And y'all have one son.
1.25. I'm updating it to 1.25. Joanne gifting a membership to Nan R. Joanne on her birthday gives a membership. Thank you so much, Mr. Joanne and Mr. Jedi. Thank you so much.
Yes.
What's
And happy birthday.
his name?
Lucas.
And how old is Lucas now?
Lucas will be 14 years old on the 28th.
28th of this month?
Yes.
Okay. So you and Brian were married, and y'all lived in Orange County. How long were y'all married?
For 13 years.
Right, and y'all divorced?
Yes.
13 fucking years. 13 years. Can you imagine being married to Sarah Boone for 13 years?
And as part of the divorce, were y'all to share custody of your son?
Yes.
And so y'all would split days? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At some time after you and Brian split up, did you meet George Torres?
Yes.
All right, could you tell the jury how you met George Torres?
I met George when I decided to buck up, I guess, and was tired of trying to patch things up with my ex-husband. And I decided to go one day for a walk across the street and go have a beer by myself and sit and people watch just to get out of my house and a change of scenery.
All right, now is this your apartment?
No, this is the marital home.
Okay. Where is that marital home?
Winter Park?
You're no longer living in that marital home?
No.
Who lives in the marital home?
No, when it has been sold.
Okay. So you met George Torres before you got the apartment?
Yes.
Okay. And you met him at a bar across the street from the marital home?
Yes, we had a mutual friend there.
Were you introduced?
Yes.
All right. How did you and George...
Scott says, did you see that smile smirk? You're going to see a lot of smiling and smirking from her, particularly, I mean, I'm not going to play all the sidebars, but, Joel from STS is reporting that her girlfriend was there and in the gallery. So I don't know whose source that is, but someone tagged me. I think Kim Hello Spring tagged me that allegedly she has someone there. But she was smirking and smiling a lot.
Get along when y'all first met?
Very well. It was strange how quickly we hit things off and had so much in common, and I never thought that he would be interested in someone like me, and I just couldn't believe that he was actually interested in me and said a lot of nice things, and 1 hour ended up being 4 hours from when we had first met, and then we would always have something to talk about.
Why couldn't you believe that he would be interested in you?
He was very handsome. He was very funny. He was smart, and I would show up in workout clothes and disheveled hair, and I guess I kind of felt broken from being in the process of the divorce that he knew about. But then one of the things that we could relate also was the fact that he was here in Florida because he had just been divorced from his second wife. So that was another topic that he and I could compare notes on.
Okay. So eventually the divorce was settled. Did you get your own place?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that after you, at first you lived in your parents' home, correct?
Yes, until I was married.
And then you moved directly in with Brian?
Yes.
And then y'all lived in the marital home, correct?
Yes.
And then you got this apartment?
Yes.
So that was the first time in your life that you actually had your own place?
Yes.
And what was the address?
4748 France Court, apartment number 3.
And what city is that in?
It's in Water Park.
How far is that from here?
20 minutes?
Okay. So you got that apartment, and initially were you by yourself?
No.
All right, tell the jury.
In the almost year, about 10 months of separation from Brian, my ex-husband, that is the time when I met George. And my ex-husband was trying to buy me out or force me out of our marital home, and I needed to find somewhere to live. And
So did you and George agree to rent the apartment?
yes, I needed extra income. We could not afford it, just on my own.
You were receiving some income from the marriage settlement, were you not?
Yes.
So you did have consistent monthly income coming in from the marriage settlement,
For the most part, yes.
but you needed more to live.
Yes, to pay the bills and for rent.
So did you and George have some agreement?
We did.
All right, what was the agreement?
The agreement was that if I decided for he and I to live with one another, because it would be under my name, that he would help with the monthly bills and on a regular basis where it wouldn't be something that I would have to argue with him about. It would just be an automatic. Make sure that everything's paid first, and then from there, hopefully have some fun with it.
Okay. And so I understand from that point on, would it be fair to say that y'all saw each other on and off for about the next 3.5 years?
No, I would consider us a couple.
Okay.
At some point, he asked me to marry him.
Okay. But y'all did have times where he left and went to live with his parents.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
And there were times where there was an understanding that y'all were going to break up.
Multiple times.
Okay. All right. So, again, on again, off again.
Yes. This was actually before we had our apartment. That was, I guess, our dating phase.
Okay. So y'all were together for 3.5 years. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And y'all had actually agreed to marry?
He had asked me, yes, a couple of times to marry him, and one time I agreed to yes.
Okay. Now, I want to get directly to the date of this event so that the jury can hear your testimony. All right. So tell us, I believe the date is February the 23rd of 2020. Explain to the jury that whole day, from the time y'all got up, the whole thing.
Approach. Objection's overruled for now.
Now, Ms. Boone, let's just, instead of one long speech, let me break you up over the course of the day. So, do you remember the date of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes.
Do you remember getting up?
Yes.
All right, just tell the jury about that morning. What y'all did that morning. What you and George spent the night together at the apartment.
Yes, at that point he was living there.
Yes. So y'all slept in the bed together, upstairs, February So y'all had gotten up that morning, February 23rd of 2020.
Yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when y'all got up.
He was already downstairs, and I went downstairs, and he wanted to start the day off by drinking because it was a day off from his job. And I talked him into cleaning and tidying up the house for a sense of accomplishment. So that is what we did for however long that it took. So we did tidy up the house and got everything in order, and it was kind of a reward, I guess, to be able to sit and enjoy ourselves and sit on the back porch.
All right, what do you mean by cleaning up the house? What did y'all do?
We swept and mopped. We folded some of the laundry. I know that we did the dishes, emptied the dishwasher, just general run-of-the-mill tidying up.
And did you have your son coming the next day?
Yes, that was one of the reasons why we were able to do that.
What was the arrangement you had in terms of the next day would have been your day to pick up your son from school?
Yes.
What time would you pick Lucas up from school the next day?
I believe his school ended at 3 o'clock.
Okay. So you would have been responsible to pick him up, and he would be spending the night with you that night.
Yes.
So you wanted to have the house nice and clean.
Yes.
How many bedrooms are in the home?
2.
And you and George had one bedroom?
Yes.
And who had the other?
Lucas.
All right. Is that exclusively his bedroom?
Yes.
All right. So how long would it have taken you all that morning to clean?
I don't really remember what time we woke up, but maybe a good 2, maybe 3 hours.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you and George both smoked cigarettes?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that you and George both drink alcohol?
Yes.
All right. So at some point, y'all finished your chores,
Yes.
right? And then y'all were going to enjoy the day.
Yes.
All right. What was the plan?
It was just kind of, we've got the day to ourselves. Let's just kind of relax and go with the flow.
All right. Did y'all make a decision that y'all were going to start drinking?
Yes.
Just remember, little foreshadowing. Just listen to how she talks about how her day went on direct, and then how she maybe changes a little bit on cross-examination on how her day was going and how it went. A little foreshadowing.
Yes, we had a half of a bottle that was already in the refrigerator, and I did not want to go out afterwards. I, again, had Lucas coming the next day, so we went over to Publix to purchase another bottle of wine so we could not have to go out later on that evening.
Now, you were here in court when the state played the video of you two and the Publix purchasing the bottle of wine?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to here with the jury right now?
Yes.
Okay. And that was around noonish?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Had y'all started drinking the leftover bottle before going to the Publix?
No.
Okay. So, y'all bought a bottle of wine?
Yes.
All right. And how did y'all get to Publix?
My car.
How far is Publix from your apartment?
5 minutes.
How would you get there from your apartment?
What do you mean?
Did you have to go across any major highways, or is it right there?
You just come out of our apartment complex and you do a little U-turn and then you come up and it's right in that complex.
Okay. But it's easier to drive than to walk?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know at sometimes y'all would simply need cigarettes and it was in walking distance. Can you tell the jury about that?
Yes, there was a AutoZone convenience store with in the same, I guess, parking lot of our townhome, our complex, and it was just a straight shot from our apartment to a back gate, and you could get right into the convenience store from right there.
Okay. But y'all went over to get that bottle of wine around noonish, and how did you took your car?
Yes.
Did George have a vehicle?
He did not.
Okay. And how did you pay for the wine?
With my debit card?
And then y'all came back and started drinking?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what you did when you got back from the Publix.
Just went on the back porch where we usually spend our time because we're able to smoke cigarettes outside as opposed to inside. And
Is cigarette smoking not allowed indoors?
it is not.
Okay. Do you have pets?
Yes, I do.
Well, did you have pets?
I did, yes.
Okay.
One of the most terrible parts of this testimony is about to happen right now.
Okay. Were they with y'all there that day?
Yes, my dogs were with me all the time when I was there.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 2.
And just what are their names?
Penny and Tess.
And what is the breed?
You son of a bitch. My dog is named Petty. This is outrageous. I need that dog to be renamed right now. The dog didn't do anything wrong, but... Petty?
They are red Boston Terriers.
And are they both disabled?
Yes, Penny is blind and Pef is deaf.
So when y'all went out to smoke, on the back porch and drink, I assume, as well, correct?
Yes.
Do y'all take the dogs out?
Oh, yes.
All right. Is there a place for them to do their business out there?
Speaking of Penny and Prudence, Babe is at work right now, so if you see me like leaving the screen and coming back, it's because the dogs are being crazy and they're outside, so I gotta keep an eye on them.
Yes, I extended our back porch for them to have a little bit of area as opposed to going from a large backyard from my marital home to our little townhome. And they would come out there and do their business, and I could sometimes I would open the gate and then walk them in the back part of our apartment.
So you and George were just going to enjoy the day together?
Correct.
Is it fair to say y'all don't have a lot of money?
Yes.
And so y'all were going to do something there in the home? Y'all weren't going out for dinner? Or...
Yes, we primarily, I would consider us homebodies as opposed to going out and partying and doing this and that.
Okay. And how long do you think y'all were out that afternoon outside?
A few hours.
All right. Could you tell the jury what y'all did during that time?
We have a dartboard that's out there, and we just had drinks, and we're just really enjoying each other's company and talking about, things upcoming. We both were looking for a job and just kind of, I guess, encouraging and supporting and planning.
Well, now you said he had a job. Was he looking for a job, a second job?
No, the job that he had was very unstable, and at that...
So he was looking for something new?
Yes, at that time, yes.
Okay. And so during that 2 or 3 hours, would it be fair to say that y'all drank the bottle?
Yes.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that y'all were feeling the effects of the alcohol?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, who made the decision to come in?
I did.
Okay. Why did you want to come in?
I felt that George needed a change of scenery.
Okay. So y'all came in, and then did y'all do anything else before he left again? Were y'all doing anything? I know y'all did some arts and crafts. What did y'all do? At some point, he went to get another bottle at Publix.
Yes. I believe it was after it was right before, I believe, that we had gone inside. Because he called his daughters. I was trying to encourage him to call his family.
Okay, now where are his daughters?
His two daughters are located in Pennsylvania.
And what are their names?
Anna and Destiny.
And how old are they?
I believe that Anna is in her 30s, and Destiny may be in her early 20s.
All right. Does he have any more children?
Yes, he has a son.
And where is his son?
He is in Pennsylvania also.
Okay. So part of that afternoon is y'all came in to call relatives, call family?
No, I had him call outside, just trying to, I guess, boost the mood. The first daughter didn't answer, and I don't remember the reason I didn't speak to the second one. I believe he did. It was just for a moment.
All right. Now, whose phone were y'all using?
My phone.
All right. And is that common for y'all to use that, for y'all to share that phone?
It was, because George said that he didn't have a phone, so it would either be lost or given to him by his mother. So I didn't know he had a cell phone, so we would use my phone.
So it was primarily your phone?
That's weird, because she says later on something about his phone, particularly what he uses it for. So that's kind of weird. She didn't know he had a phone. Later on, she talks about what she found on his phone. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, everyone. Hey, Afton. Hey, Lindsay. Thanks for being here. Hey, Amanda. KJ. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much for being here this rewatch.
Yes.
Okay. And you took a lot of photographs that were on that phone?
Yes.
Videotapes?
Yes.
Text messages?
Yes.
Phone calls?
Yes, he and I both on the phone calls.
So he would use it as well?
Yes.
And that phone, is that the one that was seized in this case?
Yes.
All right, so y'all called his daughters, and then during that phone call period, did you also call his brother?
Yes.
Okay, and which brother was that?
John.
All right, now, how many brothers and sisters does George have?
I'm going to list them if that's okay.
Okay.
It's John, Pharrell, Isaac, Mo, and his sister.
Okay. And do they all live here in Florida?
Yes.
Are they close by?
As far as I know, yes.
What about his parents?
Yes.
They live here as well?
Yes.
Okay. But his ex-wives and his children live up in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay. So you called the girls, then you called, or George called his brother.
Yes.
Was that conversation that long?
No, it's not.
Okay. And then after that phone call, were y'all inside by this time?
Yes, at this point, I believe that it was a good time to get a change of scenery. So I thought George would be better off inside, and frankly, I didn't want to be outside any longer either.
Okay. So just to get an idea, about this time is when he went to get the second bottle, or did y'all stay inside for a while before he left?
No, from what I recall, I thought the day was over, and it was going to be get ready for the evening, for the day. What do you want for dinner? You know, do you have an extra load of laundry that you need to throw in, kind of thing. And that was my understanding. And
this was about 5-ish or something?
I don't remember the time.
Okay. At some point during that time period, did George go to Publix again?
Yes, I thought he was going to be walking to the convenience store, but apparently when he returned, he had gone across the street with my car and my debit card to buy another bottle of wine.
What was your understanding of where he was going?
To the convenience store, walking.
For what?
Cigarettes.
Okay. And you learned obviously that he came back, and you learned that he'd used your vehicle?
Yes.
And he'd used your debit card?
Yes.
And he'd brought back a bottle of wine from Publix?
Correct.
And you saw the Publix video of that?
Yes.
So he comes back with the other bottle of wine, and did he want you to drink with him?
It was expected, yes.
Yes. And you agreed to consume the second bottle with him?
Yes.
Okay. So over the course of that evening, drinking the wine, what did y'all do for time-wise? Watch a movie, music? Just kind of tell the jury what you remember. I know it's obviously been a while, but...
It was kind of a regular thing where I would always try to come up with entertaining activities for George, and I bought a puzzle. We started off.
I mean, she sounds like she's talking about a fucking 2-year-old. I like to plan entertaining things for him. We had a puzzle. It's like she's talking about a 2-year-old.
At one point, doing a smaller puzzle, and then we did that very quickly. So then I purchased a larger puzzle, and I believe it was 1,000 pieces. So I thought to get his mind off of things and to focus on something.
To get his minds off things and to focus. It's like she's talking about a toddler.
It would be smart for us to do the puzzle. So for however long that took, we finished the puzzle. So that was one.
Every piece was finished, or was it?
Every piece was finished. It was strange that we couldn't find one piece, and we thought it was funny that it was like in like the perfect place on there. But yes, every one but one piece.
All right. After the puzzle, what did y'all do?
I decided to continue to maintain and focus him, and
I decided to continue to maintain and focus him. I mean, who speaks like that about another adult?
a bunch of paints that I used of my son's that his grandmother bought him. It's a very big art wooden box, and it's got pastels, pencils, paint, any kind of whatever. And he and I were very much into art, and with this resource, it got him very interested in being more creative.
With this resource that my son's grandma bought, and I'm picturing one of these art kits. You know those things where you like, it's like in the plastic, and you open it up, and it's like it's like 100 pencils, colored pencils, and like it has like the water, I mean, it's like a child she's talking about.
How long have you been into art?
Ever since I can remember. As a child.
You like to draw?
I like to do anything artistic.
Okay. And I know, we saw some of the pictures of your apartment, but it looks like there was pictures and artwork up. Is that all your work and George's work?
The majority of it, yes, are belongings from my home, and then also some of George's, yes, on the wall.
Was he pretty good at art as well?
Yes.
All right, so you both enjoy doing that?
Very much.
So y'all got out Lucas's art set. What did y'all do with that?
We were just, I guess, doodling, whatever. I would always tell him that everything that you make is a masterpiece. So just let loose and just let it go.
I mean, imagine that. I would always tell him everything you make is a masterpiece. Can you, if Shannon said to me, if I painted something or I did something a bunch of times and she's like, everything you make is a masterpiece, honey, I would be like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? I am not a child. Everything you made, I would always tell him everything he made was a masterpiece. Was he 2 years old? The way she speaks about this man. What the fuck? Bro, I would be like, babe, who are you talking to? Is there a child next to me that you're saying everything? You're like, did they make macaroni things on a cart? Did they make macaroni art on a piece of construction paper?
We were just, I guess, doodling, whatever. I would always tell him that everything that you make is a masterpiece. So just let loose and just let it go. And we would just paint and paint and drink, yes, and listen to music sometimes, and yes.
Okay. Now, with the dogs, did y'all get the dogs involved?
Oh, yes, my dogs follow me everywhere, yes.
Was there some dancing going on with the dog?
Yes, after we had completed the puzzle and I guess we're painted out, I thought that it might be a good point for us to maybe listen to some music. And the music that George listens to is it's very fractious to me. And
fractious. There's certain words she likes to use a lot. She used fractious a couple times. She uses imperative. There are a couple words she likes. Fractious. The fuck is fractious? By the way, as far as everything being a masterpiece, let me just show you. Last year during Viv's Art with Viv's, I feel like this is Shannon's because this is much better than mine. Is this mine? This can't be mine. Everything, maybe it's mine. Everything I feel like this is much better than mine. But everything I do make is a masterpiece. If this is mine, I don't know.
it was definitely not going to lighten the mood, so we ended up finding some channel on the radio, and he was feeling it, and then we ended up, my one dog gets very active and was dancing with us, and we were just having a good time listening to music.
And I guess it's getting pretty late in the evening.
Yes.
Anything else I've missed?
I don't believe so.
All right. So tell us where y'all ended up before you started the game of hide and seek.
We were there. I couldn't think of anything else possibly that I had to continue entertainment, but I remember sitting at the end of the couch and him sitting in one of my son's chairs that was in the living room and just kind of doing this. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, I very much would like to go to sleep.
Had y'all finished off the that bottle that he had bought?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Bless you.
Would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more y'all consumed?
Yes.
All right. And would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more you consumed, the more effects you felt from the alcohol?
Of course, yes.
Oh, both of them?
Yes.
Okay. So you would agree, would you not, that at the time y'all were trying to figure out something to do and you put your head on the couch, that y'all, would it be fair to say that y'all were intoxicated?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened.
At one point, I guess he knew that I couldn't come up with anything else, tapped me on my knee and said, "You're it." So from there, I ran up the stairs and hid into our shower, just waiting for him to find me so we could hopefully go to sleep soon at some point. And
Your shower, is it a tub or just a walk-in?
it's a tub, but it's in the master bedroom, and you have to go all the way upstairs, you have to go in the bedroom, and then you have to go into the bathroom part, and then there's the shower part.
So did you lay down in the tub?
At one point, yes, I was.
Okay. So you were hiding?
I was trying.
Okay. And did you believe that he was going to come try to find you?
Yes.
Did you wait?
Yes, for quite some time.
All right. Then what did you decide to do?
That I decided that I need to go to sleep. I'm picking my son up the next day, and we need to start wrapping up the evening. And I went downstairs to find where he was.
And what? I think the jury has seen pictures of your. Would you call it an apartment or
It's considered a townhome.
a townhome? So you walk down the stairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the bottom of the stairs is a bookshelf here.
Yes, at the very end of it, yes.
Okay. So you walk down the stairs and you turn and look in the living room. What did you see?
I don't even think I made it all the way down the stairwell because I was just looking for him as soon as I could to hopefully go upstairs as soon as we could. And I looked over and I saw him settling himself in the suitcase.
All right. Tell us about the suitcase. How long? Is it an older suitcase?
Yes.
Whose suitcase was it?
This is George's suitcase.
All right. And did he use it for traveling back and forth to Philly?
Yes. I had recently taken him on a trip to go see his children in Pennsylvania, who he hasn't seen in years. And we took that with us. And because of how...
Even that wording, it wasn't, we went on a trip to see his family. It was,
I had recently taken him on a trip.
I had taken him on a trip. I had recently taken him on a trip. You know, it's like she's talking about a kid.
To go see his children in Pennsylvania, who he hasn't seen in years. And we took that with us. And because of how dilapidated it was, how broken it was, in the end.
Yes, in Sarah's version of hide and seek, you say tag, you're it, and then you both hide. That's her version.
After that trip, we decided that we would donate it.
All right. And I understand y'all kept the suitcase upstairs.
Yes.
How long did y'all keep it upstairs?
Since we had moved in.
Is there a closet up there you kept it in?
Yes, it was in the master closet, the master bedroom closet, all the way in the back because of the size of it, and there was nowhere to put it, so it's all the way in the back.
So when did y'all decide to move it down from upstairs to downstairs? Was it that day or sometime earlier?
No, it was maybe a week or so prior.
Okay. And so what, y'all were going to donate that to Goodwill, or?
Yes, we were going to do, I guess, a spring cleaning. Anyone who has children understands that they grow quickly, and there was a lot of clothes that I needed to go.
Anyone who has children knows they grow quickly. Now, if you don't have children, you can't fathom that concept. But anyone who has children knows they grow very quickly. For everyone in this chat who doesn't have a child, this may be difficult to comprehend, but they grow very quickly. Everyone who knows children, everyone who has children knows that as a fact.
Go through of my sons, and then also from George and I moving in and just kind of putting everything in there, you know, at one point where we just needed to actually go through it and organize it and get things more in order.
So is that the reason it was downstairs? You were going to donate it and a bunch of things that you're going to put inside of it?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So it'd been down there a week, so it was already down there?
Yes, George brought it down.
Okay. So you said that you got down there, you're looking for him, you see him
Thanks, Jody. Welcome to the gang, Jody.
Settling into the suitcase.
Yes.
What did you do?
In my head, I said, oh man, we're obviously not going to be going to sleep anytime soon. And
this is another theme that comes up often in her testimony. Oh man, we're not going to sleep. Like, oh man, we're not going to go to sleep soon. Oh man, like her whole plan the entire time was to go to sleep. She tries to paint this picture.
I walked over, and he was trying to get himself flat, so I couldn't tell that he was in there. And then
now let me stop you there. The suitcase, is it the suitcase over here in the?
Yes.
In the box. You've seen it. You saw it.
Yes.
It's a pretty big suitcase.
Yes.
How big is George?
George was my height. And
how tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
Okay. And how much did George weigh?
I thought it was 100 pounds.
Okay. And how much did?
Just got a $20 cash app from Pammy for being fan-funk fabulous tonight. Thank you so much, Pammy. You're the best.
I was 98 pounds.
All right. Do you agree you put on some weight?
Since I've been incarcerated, yes.
Well, at the time, though, y'all were pretty skinny.
Yes.
So, from the pictures, it looks like y'all were both pretty thin.
Yes.
By the way, and actually, Alina Burrows, I'm going to give her credit because she messaged this to me. She said she went to Sarah, and this is a good point. She went to great efforts to ensure the jury wasn't aware she had been incarcerated. They made a big deal about wearing the civilian clothes, putting on the makeup, etc. They did all this stuff to show the jury that she's not in jail, and then she tells them that she's been incarcerated. Dope.
All right. So because of his thinness, is that how? And he's a small man.
Yes.
Okay. So he was able to get in the suitcase on his own.
Yes.
Did he willingly get in the suitcase?
He was already in there.
Okay. When you got up to him, did he see you?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what happened.
I mean, I zipped him up. We thought it was funny, and we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
All right. So what happened then?
From there, it was just we were laughing about it, and it was just strange that he was small enough to fit in there. And then I kind of moved it around a little bit with him in the suitcase still. It was still funny that he was still in the suitcase. Just, I think he and I were just kind of couldn't believe that he could fit in the suitcase.
Wow, $100 Venmo from Andrea, the painting is magnificent. Thank you so much for Helen, who appreciates my art. It's magnificent. Thank you so much, Helen. You are the best.
Did you eventually close the top?
Yes, in order for, well, the top was already closed. As he was settling himself in there, that's how I knew he was in there, was because the top was kind of flopping a little bit.
So he had got in there to hide, and he pulled the top.
Yes.
On top of it. But you could tell he was in there.
Yes.
You saw him right away.
Yes.
All right. So at some point, did you zip him up?
Yes.
And what was he saying or doing when you were zipping him up?
I just thought it was funny.
Were you both laughing?
Yes.
And so you zipped him up. Were y'all still laughing once you zipped him up?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury what happened then.
From there, I moved the suitcase around a couple of times, just kind of on the wheels, and moved it around. And at that point, it was funny. We were joking and laughing about it.
All right, now, eventually, did you go sit down on the couch and get your phone?
Yes.
I missed something?
Well, the suitcase had, from me moving it around, was flopped over. So while it was like that, I thought at that point I had a moment to, I guess, take the time to talk to him while I guess he was not able to get out for a moment.
So you flipped it. You got it on the top, right?
Yeah.
He gets in, but at some point you flip it over, so the zipper is on the bottom.
Well, it was just kind of how I was moving it around, and it ended up kind of flopping. So
it was
just kind of how I was flipping it around. You know, when you play hide and seek, that's how you do it with someone in a suitcase. Lily Pauly, a member for 10 months. Thank you so much, Lily Pauly.
It's upside down.
yes.
So after you did that, what did you do?
That's when I went over and decided to videotape to just see the jest in it, for him to understand that right now I feel safe, and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you.
I'm rewinding that. She said the jest in it? I'm rewinding that. What?
I guess the jest in it, for
the jest in it?
Him to understand that right now I feel safe, and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you in a manner that normally I would not have the ability to do.
And you were in talk.
So, I mean, it almost seems like, she's making it like, oh, I just happened to fall on this opportunity where I could tell him about, because I felt safe. I just happened to, like, this wasn't planned. Come on, she planned this shit. This is like
Intoxicated.
Yes.
And you would agree that you said some things you should not.
Yes.
But you realized he could not get out and get at you. Is that fair?
At that moment, yes.
So it goes
Yo, Chris, what's up?
on for about 10 minutes.
Yes.
You heard it here today, did you not?
Yes.
You heard his voice as he was speaking from the suitcase.
Yes.
That was his voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
And you heard your
Oh, she's saying adjusted it? She's saying adjusted it? Oh, my bad. I really screwed that up.
voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
That was your voice.
Yes.
All those things said by the man were said by George in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
All the words said by the female were said by you in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
Were you intending on showing him the video the next day?
Yes.
At the time, or the next day, is it fair to say you don't even remember a videotape?
I do not.
So, from what you can tell from watching it, did that refresh your memory about that event?
It did.
Why did you say all that?
All right, we got an approachal, which means... But also means we don't have to wait for it, because we're not... Oh, there it is. There's one of her fucking smirks. She just can't keep the smiling in. Look at her. She just a little smile there. She just is having the time of her life here. Look at this little smirk. What the fuck, man? Hey, Nay. Hey, Nay and K, back to back. There's some more.
Mr. Owens, you may proceed.
I'm talking about just the 2-minute video part that was recorded. Could you just tell the jury what you were feeling, what your feelings were at the time, and then explain that to the jury? You mentioned, you talked about it before. You said he was in that confined space and it was my chance, but do you want to elaborate on that? Or?
Sure. I want you all to know that the majority of the time, am always afraid and always scared.
All right, well.
This was really this statement here. I just want you all to know. I mean, I got to have Jack on too, I'm sure he'll do his own video, but like this statement, like, I just want you all to know.
You want to elaborate on that?
This is such a telling statement.
I want you all to know that the majority of the time, am always afraid and always scared.
All right, well, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. But would it be fair to say that you had some anger at that point?
I did.
Would it be fair to say that you wanted to tell him off to some degree?
I just wanted, yes, for him to have a better understanding, which was the whole point of the videos and documentation prior.
And you could tell that he was uncomfortable.
I'm guessing.
And did you...
You're guessing the man was shoved in a fucking suitcase? You're guessing he was uncomfortable?
Want him to feel some uncomfort?
I did.
Okay. Now, at some point, you turned off the video.
Yes.
And then we saw a second video, which is approximately 11 minutes later. And you've seen that video that was played to the jury. It was 22 seconds long.
Yes.
And I don't think you speak in that video. You hear Jorge say Sarah one time.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So between the 2-minute video and the 22-second video is an 11-minute period. Would you tell the jury what happened?
We continued to, I guess, speak to one another, and his tone changed, and I knew the tone, and we ended up, I guess, arguing back and forth with one another, and it was the things that he was saying very much frightened me, and cursing at me and threatening me. And
did he want you to let him out of the suitcase?
I'm sure so.
Okay, go ahead, tell me.
And it just got very heated very quickly, and he continued to push on the suitcase. And my fear was that he was going to break out of the suitcase, knowing that it was a broken suitcase. And his hand started to come through. His hand started to come through this way. And so I shook the suitcase. Trying to get his hand to go back in, shaking it, and telling him that, please stop doing this. Please stop doing this to me. Please stop doing this to me.
So his hand actually got out of the suitcase?
Yes.
And you went to the suitcase?
Yes.
And shook it?
Yes.
The way they describe the hand, it's like, I tweeted this, it's like the Thing from fucking Addams Family. The way they describe, as if this hand was going to do all this damage, it was going to just get out of the suitcase by itself, the hand, and attack her. The way to describe the hand is insanity.
Did that force his hand to go back in?
No.
So you're shaking it. Were you shaking it to try to get the suitcase, his hand back in?
Yes.
How long did you shake it?
I don't know.
But his hand was still out?
Yes.
Was he trying to get out?
Forcefully, yes.
Was he angry at you?
Yes.
Were you in fear?
Always.
If he would have gotten out of the suitcase, what would he have done to you?
Like he used to tell me, he probably would have made me unrecognizable, or I would have lost my life.
Did you lose the grip on the suitcase?
Yes.
It's funny that it's not funny. It's weird that she's saying this now. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but during the police interview or other times, she was like, I thought I was gonna go in bed and then we were gonna have sex. But now she's fearing her life.
Where was the bat in relation to the suitcase?
It was leaning up against the dining room table, right there.
How far was the bat from the suitcase?
3 feet, 2 feet.
Was his hand still out of the suitcase?
Yes.
And was he getting out of the suitcase?
He very much was trying, yes.
And so what did you do?
For the split-second reaction that I had, I happened to see that, and I grabbed the baseball bat and was trying to poke his hand to go back in to please don't break through, please. So I hit his hand.
Did you hit the outside part of his hand?
Yes,
We've seen the photographs of his left hand. Did you cause the bruising there?
I'm guessing yes.
Now, you've seen the bat. It's a youth bat.
Yes, I bought it for my son.
Is this the bat you use?
Yes,
And you said you poked him with it?
yes, I kind of pushed, like I held it with the skinny part here and then
So the grip here,
prodded at it, yes,
you grabbed it with both hands here,
yes,
and then the barrel of the bat, the big part of the bat is here.
correct.
And you thrusted it into the different areas of the suitcase?
I started with his hand, and his hand, he was still trying to get out. He was still trying to do that. So I started to push on the suitcase around it, hoping to have his hand retract and go back inside.
You made those injuries.
I did,
We've seen the photographs.
yes,
We see the bruising. Is that from that bat?
yes,
Eventually, did his hand go back inside from you doing?
yes. Finally, he had subsided and retracted his hand.
So in your mind, did you prevent him from attacking you?
Absolutely. Split-second decision.
Now, once he retracted his hand, do you remember zipping it up some, or what did you do in relation? Because he was upside down, was he not, at that point?
Yes,
At some point, you flipped him back up.
I did.
Tell how that happened.
How could he have been upside down? You're telling me his hand...
He wasn't cursing. He wasn't threatening. His hand was inside foremost. There was no more of him trying to break through the suitcase. So I felt safe enough to turn it back over. It wasn't happening anymore.
You went back to the video and the couch,
I did, yes.
and we saw the second video,
Yes,
the 22-second, and he's right side up again,
yes,
and you hear him say, Sarah?
yes.
Had you left enough room for him to get out? Zipper to zipper.
Yes, that's how his hand was trying.
That suitcase has two zippers, doesn't it? And they meet at various places along the line?
Correct.
How much room, when you flipped it over, how much room was between zipper to zipper?
I don't know specifically. I mean, it was enough to where his hand was coming out.
After you had hit him with the bat, was he not trying to get out anymore?
No.
Did you believe that he could breathe in there?
Yes.
Did you ever believe he could die in there?
No. At all.
Were you trying to kill him?
Never.
Did you want to kill him?
I did not.
Did you walk upstairs?
I did, yes.
Why didn't you let him out before you walked upstairs?
I mean, I don't know, Kaylin. You never know with the jury. I mean, I don't believe her, but we haven't got to the part yet where she starts talking about the abuse. I don't know if that's going to affect them, but we're not there yet.
Were you afraid?
Terrified is more of the word.
As long as he was in the suitcase, he couldn't harm you.
Correct.
When he's... Did you want him to calm down?
Yes, I wanted him to stop being angry because I know what it is for him to be angry.
You went upstairs. Where were the dogs?
The dogs ran upstairs with me.
And where did they go?
On the bed.
Did you have the phone with you?
Yes,
I know at some point you called your husband, Brian, did you not?
I did.
Do you recall how long that conversation was?
Not very long.
I really want to know about this conversation with Brian. Does anyone know? I don't think they asked Brian about this conversation, but they may have, and I missed it. What does Brian say Did he say what she said? If not, they're gonna, when they call him back, they're going to ask him.
Can you recall what was said?
I don't remember exactly. No, I don't.
Hold on. Miss Boone, Sarah Boone, you said that when he was in the suitcase, he was threatening her, threatening you. Can you tell the jury what he was saying?
I don't know. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
That he was going to fucking end me. And that's what made me ask him please to stop doing what he's doing to me. That he was going to, I'm guessing, try his best that night to probably take my life.
But what, the threat you heard was he's
going to
say the word.
end me.
Excuse me?
Fucking end me.
End you?
Yes.
One more.
Yes, sir.
Judge, can we approach the bench?
Yes.
All right, this is. I think this is the approach where they ask if they can get in. Oh, I think I'm gonna be skipping a lot
Your
here.
presence. So I'm going to please do not conduct.
All right, so I'm not gonna play it, but ultimately the judge decides. The state objects. She shouldn't be able to get in any of the testimony regarding the domestic violence with George. He listens to both arguments, goes back, makes a decision, and rules that he does allow the other acts with George to be allowed, which it seems like. And then they go through all the evidence, what they're going to show, which we're going to see now. And it almost seems like, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I don't think he was going to deny it because that could maybe be an appealable issue. But maybe the law says that, according to the judge, the law says that she can get this in here. So,
Defense, you recognize our jury?
Yes.
During our last break, record reflect all hands have been raised. Mr. Owens, you may continue with your inquiry, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
by the way, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I do not like how close the court reporter is to the witness. Like, if this is like a serial killer, I mean, I think Sarah's guilty, but like, if this is like, what's her name? What was that girl who cut the guy's head off? Like, do they have to sit this close to every person that's up there? That's way too close to me. Donna White gifting out 10 memberships. You're the best, Donna. Welcome all the new members. Capri Sun's in the chat. Thank you so much, Donna. So here we go. Now we're going to get into Shabusiness. Right. If it's Shabusiness, are they going to be this close? Seems way too close to me. But any hoozle, here's where we're going to get into the testimony about George and Sarah's previous domestic DV. I don't even know if I can say it.
Yes, ma'am. So I think we left off. You had called your ex-husband?
Yes.
All right. After you called your ex-husband, what happened after that?
I ended up falling asleep.
Okay. Do you remember waking up the next morning?
Yes.
Did you sleep in?
Not intentionally.
Okay. But you didn't get up at 8 o'clock.
Not intentionally. That is that's one of her favorites. Not intentionally.
Did you?
No.
Did you wake up closer to noon?
I believe so, yes.
Did you check the time?
No.
Now, did you hear your phone ringing?
Yes, my phone was ringing.
And did you answer it right away?
No.
Do you know approximately how many times it rang before you answered it?
I believe the call was about 3 times.
Did you know who was calling?
I figured it was my ex-husband.
And why would he be calling?
To make sure that I was still on schedule to pick up our son.
At 3 that afternoon?
Correct.
And he goes to school there close by?
Yes.
Chris Duet says, similar defense in Florida versus Deidre Hunt. Claims she committed crimes out of fear of death or abuse from her co-defendant. She's been in prison for 35 years now.
All right. When you woke up, did you stay in bed for a while?
For a little while, yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when you got up.
I knew it was my ex-husband calling repeatedly. I didn't answer right away because one of our problems is that he doesn't understand that I'm doing things around the apartment and looking for jobs and so on and so forth. So I inevitably just let it ring, and I sat.
Inevitably. She loves that word inevitably. She really does. Inevitably, I just let it ring.
I laid in the bed, and I figured that George was downstairs either drinking or looking for jobs, or may have just left. And so eventually I decided to get out of the bed and start moving to go downstairs. I was motivated enough to go downstairs. And when I went downstairs, it was very quiet. So I had the understanding, I believed that he had left. And
did you check to see if he was, where would he be looking for a job at?
Usually on the couch. He would have my son's laptop, and he and I, which we would share.
Y'all only have the son's laptop?
Correct.
And the TV was not working at this time?
The TV was not there.
Okay. So you thought he would be in the living room on the laptop?
Yes.
He was not there?
No.
Where else did you look for him?
I looked on the back porch. I went through the front door to see if my car was there, thinking maybe he had taken my car. I checked the bathroom, and when I was checking the bathroom, I saw the suitcase, and I remembered about the night prior, and I unzipped the suitcase. And
Let me stop you there. You said you were in the bathroom when you saw the suitcase, or coming out of the bathroom?
No, where our bathroom is, I would have to go to the bathroom here, and then when I turned around, I noticed the suitcase, and I remembered.
How did you feel when you saw the suitcase?
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before.
Describe it for the jury.
I guess it was, I was aghast, and I just can't describe the feeling. It was terror to a certain degree.
I'm sorry, say that again now.
It was terror to a certain degree. I just can't describe it in words, the feeling of remembering. And then he was still in there.
So what did you do?
I immediately unzipped the suitcase, and I was screaming, George, 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 and I was shaking him, and I pulled him out, and I stretched him out flat, and then I began instantly trying to do CPR, and then was trying to look for a pulse or a breath or just anything, and...
By the way, I went and watched the video again, or I watched parts of the police cam, the body cam. Her shirt is clean. It's like not wrinkled at all. No blood on it. We know there was blood on George. There is no fucking way she did any CPR, in my opinion. There's nothing on her.
Was just screaming his name over and over and over again, and come on, George, and I continued CPR, and I continued CPR, and he was gurgling, and...
What color was he?
What color was he?
Yes.
He was purple.
At some point, did you call your ex-husband?
Yes, when he started to gurgle, and I knew that my ex-husband is notorious for bringing my son over in very inopportune times when...
There's that word, notorious. Oh, I was just worried because my ex-husband, he's notorious for bringing over my son when I kill people.
And George is possibly drunk or doing things not appropriate for my son to see. And
you mean your ex-husband brought over your husband for your parenting agreement, but because your boyfriend is doing something weird? Like, she's so fucking weird. She's such a
I just didn't know what to do. It was just a quick knee-jerk reaction. Brian was kind of my go-to person because of my family being...
No! You know who the go-to person is when there's someone dead in your fucking house? 911! Can you imagine if your ex, for the folks who are divorced, or I mean, even if you're not, if you just have an ex who calls you and you have a kid with them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my current boyfriend's in a suitcase in my fucking house." Can you imagine you get that phone call? Can you fucking imagine that phone call?
And I don't have anyone else that I can call. And I just wanted to ensure that he would not bring my son over in the process of all of this at some point.
So you called him?
I called him.
Did you ask him what to do? Or did you just tell him to come over?
I just told him to come over.
Did you tell him that you felt like George was dead?
Yes, I did.
And how far? You said it's 5 minutes from house to house?
Yes.
Did you call him back?
Yes, because he was taking so long. It felt seconds were hours. Yes. I'm still doing CPR at the same time in the process of it. I'm doing CPR I don't know how many times.
Did he get there?
Yes.
Did he walk in?
Yes.
Did he walk out?
Yes.
What did he tell you to do?
Call 911.
What did you do?
I called 911.
Is that the recording we've heard here in this trial?
Yes.
Did you love George?
To this day.
Why did you love him?
George was very passionate. George was a very real person. George was nice to me on the good days. George complimented me. George and I were two bodies with one soul, he and I would always say.
I think she was just quoting the lyrics from Two Becomes One by Spice Girls. I think that's all that was. That was just the lyrics from Two Becomes One. I mean, what kind of weird, goofy shit was that?
I don't believe that I've ever had a connection with anyone like I have with George.
Did you have that connection with your ex-husband?
I did not.
Was it even close?
No.
George has some good traits, doesn't he?
Very much.
Did George have some bad traits?
He did.
Did you drink too much?
I did.
Did George drink too much?
Yes.
Tell the jury about George's drinking.
If George was able to, he would drink from sun up to sundown. And me having my son and trying to work and maintain the home and just have a normal life as best as I could, somehow that upset George. And because I had a certain dollar amount from my divorce settlement, at one point it was from wine we could afford vodka, so a lot of the times he would take my card, my debit card, and go buy the large, we call them handles, of...
Wait, I gotta go back to that because later she says they didn't have two nickels to rub together. What does she say?
If George was able to, he would drink from sun up to sundown. And me having my son and trying to work and maintain the home and just have a normal life as best as I could, somehow that upset George. And because I had a certain dollar amount from my divorce settlement, at one point it was from wine we could afford vodka, so a lot of the times he would take my card, my debit card, and go buy the large, we call them handles, of vodka, which is the big bottle. And sometimes he would finish that all off on his own throughout an entire period of a day into an evening. That's honestly where I thought that he was going to be that morning when I came downstairs, because he's notorious for just automatically already being outside.
Notorious.
From drinking all the time.
And you said you have an alcohol problem. George has an alcohol problem.
Yes.
How did George's drinking adversely affect you?
It would debilitate my ability to help him the way that I was always trying to help him, because it would be one good day, a day of survival, and then it would be another day where I'm having to peel him off of me and call 911.
Why would he get that way? Tell us his pattern as it relates to drinking and then
Judge, object.
Approach.
Approach-o, but we don't have to wait because we are rewatching. No, notorious. Dun, 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 dun.
Application where he would. Y'all were together 3.5 years.
Yes.
Is there times when he would get to a state of intoxication where he would get violent against you?
Quite often.
Judge, can I approach the witness?
Yes. As long as you show it to the state first, please.
All right, so this is where the DV is coming in, the prior alleged.
I'm going to show you those photographs and see if you recognize those.
I do.
Are those two pictures of your body?
Yes.
Did they show injuries to your body?
Yes.
Were those injuries caused by George Torres?
Yes.
Are those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of the injuries you sustained at the hands of George Torres?
On this occurrence, yes.
You remember this occurrence?
I don't. It was so often.
You don't remember a specific date?
I don't.
But you're sure that that's you?
Yes.
Is that the injuries that he... What's the injury to the rib cage?
I don't remember specifically. These may be the pictures. So, when we used to go over to his brother's house, one of his brothers and his...
Objection. Non-responsive.
Sustained.
You don't have to answer the question.
Oh.
Just a minute. Do you know what happened to... Did George cause these injuries?
Yes.
All right. Were y'all both drinking at that time?
I don't remember on this instance.
Judge, I'd like to move this exhibit into evidence.
Okay.
What was pre-marked as P will be received into evidence without objection as Defense Exhibit 2.
I'm not sure I know how I heard this.
Mr. Owens, may I get just a number, please? Thank you.
This is not Judge. Ms. Boone, is that you?
Yes.
Are those injuries to your arm?
Yes.
Take care, Donna. Thanks for being here.
Were they caused by George Torres?
Yes.
And during the same incident, is this you?
Yes.
Is that an injury or bruise to your rib cage area
Yes.
and your arm?
Yes.
I'll show you identification. Identification Q. Jury, what happened?
I wanted to take my dogs for a walk and get off at the back porch.
Were y'all drinking?
Yes. And he was upset that I would rather go walk my dogs than sit there and continue to drink. So he slapped my thighs hard as he possibly could and said that you're not going anywhere. And it was a good smack on my thigh.
Mac is right here and wants to say, hey, Bo. Hey, Bo. Hey, Mac. Hope you guys have a good night.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the wound that you suffered as a result of George Torres slapping you on the thigh?
Yes.
Judge, I'd like to offer Q and evidence.
No objection.
What was
Is this the photograph you just mentioned?
Yes.
Identification, defense identification S. See if you recognize that photograph.
I do.
Is that your hand?
Yes.
Is that your blood on your hand?
Yes, it is.
Is that you standing, looks like in a room with flip-flops?
This is in the kitchen at Brian's house.
Okay, what happened there?
So George was very drunk, and I wanted to leave, and he's notorious for taking my car keys and putting them around his neck,
Are we up to 4 notoriouses at this point?
and my phone in his crotch area, and telling me to come get them. And I really wanted to leave because of how drunk, and I knew the escalation of his anger. I didn't want to be there when it was at its peak. So I tried to take my keys from around him because he kept taunting me to take my keys, come get your keys. And so I attempted to go and get my keys. And so he ended up getting a butcher knife. And I had an opportunity to call Brian to come and help me, to please come pick me up, to come get me. And of course, he brings my son with him. And so I'm in the parking lot asking Brian to please help me get my car keys away from him. And there's neighbors, and it's a scene at this point. And George comes to the doorway of my townhome wielding the butcher knife, saying that, blinkers, that no one's going to take her fucking keys, no one's going to fucking come into this house, and he's waving the butcher knife. And I walked up to him, and I just wanted to leave, and my little son, who was, I believe, 7 or 8 at the time, is screaming, give mommy her keys, let her leave. Brian was even trying to negotiate with him, saying, please, you know she'll come back, just let her leave. So I went up to try and take the keys from him, and he was pulling on them, and I ended up pulling harder, and he pulled them back again to try to pull me in the house, and I pulled them even harder, and it ripped my finger. And at one point, I had lost the fingernail, and the tip of my pinky was severely gashed.
Judge, I'd like to offer this Amanda.
Okay. What was it pre-marked as, Counselor?
Looks like S, but not court Amanda.
What was pre-marked as defense S will be received in.
Akasha says, and the only other person on the planet that can corroborate her story is dead. However, what I want to know is, if all of these things are true that she's saying, and it appears Brian would have known about them, he was still cool with their son staying at her house? That makes me wonder.
Into evidence without objection.
Is this the picture you're referring to? Is that the nail, or is it still on?
I believe so, yes.
Now I'm showing you a composite identification L, 2 photographs. Can you look at those photographs and tell the jury what they are?
I wanted to eat, and while he was drinking, went and made myself, as quickly as I possibly could, a microwave bowl of, I believe it was broccoli and cheddar soup, and I didn't get it out enough time, and he came up behind me and he slapped it out of my hand, and it was a 2nd-degree burn. I went to the hospital for it.
Were those fair and accurate depictions of the injury, the burn to your thigh?
Yes.
Brian was called by the state, but I also believe he's on the defense witness list, and I also believe can be recalled by the state too. So Brian's going to be testifying again, I believe.
Would you like to offer identification L in evidence?
Okay. What was pre-marked as L will be received into evidence without objection as defense 5.
You had to go to the hospital as a result of these injuries to your thigh?
Yes. It was extremely painful.
Is that a depiction of the burn?
Yes.
Is that your thigh?
It's my thigh, yes.
And your knee?
Chris says, I think they both willingly engaged in drunken dysfunction, and some nights she got the worst of it, and if he was alive, I'm sure he'd have his stories too. Yeah, I tend to agree with Chris here.
Yes.
All right, I'm showing you composite exhibit for identification K, 4 photographs. Did you look at those, all 4, before commenting? Go ahead and tell them. This is a longer story, isn't it?
All right, folks. This story is, if you haven't heard this story yet, listen to this story, because just buckle up, Buttercups. This story is something.
Go ahead and tell them.
So, George stabbed me in my leg. I almost bled to death.
All right, well, let's go back and explain what led up to that.
I thought it would be nice to cook a nice steak dinner. We don't have 2 nickels to rub together, so I thought it would be special to make a steak dinner and make potato and go above.
By the way, I didn't even think about this initially, but I feel like if your story is you don't have 2 nickels to rub together, steak is not the choice of food you use with that story. You say, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, so I got the ramen at the closet. You didn't get the steak if you don't have 2 nickels to rub together. I feel like steak If you don't have 2 nickels to rub together, you're getting the ramen.
Of the normal whatever's left over in the refrigerator. And so I spent a lot of time doing that. And George is drinking the entire time. And on the back porch.
You were drinking as well, were you not?
I was drinking. He was on the back porch while I was in the house and I was cooking. And it was one of those where maybe if I start making dinner now, it will be over at a particular time and we can go to bed at a reasonable time. And I even put it in the bedroom and had a movie set up for us to watch. So it would just kind of be dinner in bed. And then he came upstairs and saw that I had made the steak dinner, and I don't know how to describe how drunk he was, but it definitely was not George. And had him come lay on the bed, sit on the bed, and, you know, put the, I got the dogs out, and I presented him with the steak dinner, and sat down and was getting ready to start playing the movie. And
all right, so I missed this part before. This was steak in bed. I missed this before. This was steak in bed to watch the movie. I missed that.
He starts being very rude, and
because who doesn't like to have some steak and mashed potatoes in bed watching a movie?
Cursing the steak and finding fault with it. And then, you know, I'm having to encourage him to eat. You know, if you want me to cut it up for you, I will cut it up for you. Did you want some more sour cream for your potato? What can I do to make you happier? And then he started to pull on me and kept saying that, excuse me, that I just want to fuck you on the steak and fuck you on the potatoes. And I took offense to that, and I kept trying to encourage him to eat. I started to eat.
Was this just him really drunk and saying nonsense?
I don't know why he was so angry that day. I don't know if it's because I got steak. I don't know. Most of the time I don't know the reason why. I couldn't take it anymore. Obviously, I was not going to be able to eat, so I started to crawl off of the bed to leave, just the bedroom. And he told me again that I'm not going anywhere, and he stabbed me in my leg, and it crunched. You could hear a noise that it made, and blood just started to come out of my leg, just like a fountain. So I got off of the bed. He's starting to freak out, and grabbed me a towel. I got a wet towel, and I'm sitting here holding the towel, and it's increasingly becoming even more and more saturated by the minute. It's just minutes. So I'm going through towels, and I said, George, I think I need to go to the hospital. This is not stopping to bleed. This is serious. And he got on his knees and begged me, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. And inevitably, he went and got my car keys and put them around his neck again, and my cell phone. So I was not able to call anyone, and I wasn't able to.
JD, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I didn't have the sound effect on, but it says, just for the record, I don't want to fuck anyone on steak. Everyone write that down. JD does not want to fuck anyone on steak. JD, thank you so much for the super chat.
Leave in my car, so I figured I would just go downstairs, and I'm just going to go downstairs, and I had propped my foot up on the glass table that we had, and blood is just everywhere. Blood is everywhere. I can't keep up with the amount of blood, and I'm starting to feel very weak and really weird. And he comes downstairs, and he's still begging me, please don't call 911, please don't call 911. I kept telling him, there's something, this is serious, this is something. Because he knew that he would probably get arrested or something bad would happen to him. So I couldn't take him anymore. He was just all over me, and I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding very badly, and he's having me try to console him. And I kept telling him, please, I need to call 911, please. And I said, okay, just give me a moment. And I crawled upstairs to my son's bathroom, which is the furthest bathroom away from everything. And I remember holding onto the sink. And I looked into the mirror, and my lips were blue. And I knew I needed help. I needed help. And he came upstairs looking.
That just made me think of the scene from what's the movie with DiCaprio and Jonah Hill and The Wolf of Wall Street, where in their head they're walking out to their cars and everything's fine, but then reality sets in. They show them and they're like crawling to their cars. They're not even moving. They're so wasted. Like that's what probably was going on there with her.
Frantic for me, calling my name, and then I turned to him and I said, please, I'm going to die. I've lost a lot of blood. There's something wrong. My lips are blue. Please, please, we don't have to call an ambulance. If you could just take me, I'll drive whatever I can do, please, to go to the hospital for this. And he said that before anything happens, I had to concoct a story in order for him to not be arrested or be in trouble when we did inevitably get to the hospital. So I'm sitting there with this blood-soaked...
Oh, all right. So, all right, everyone who's here who hasn't seen this yet. George is asking Sarah to concoct a story. Just wait till you hear the story that she concocts.
Towel with blue lips, trying to come up with a story of what I can tell them when I go down there.
She really wants to tell us about the blue lips. She really...
So he's not in trouble, and telling him that it's okay. And I came up with the story of that we were sword fighting silly after drinking with our steak knives, and he accidentally punctured my leg. And
silly sword fighting with our steak knives. I came up with the story that we were silly sword fighting with our steak knives. It's almost like coming up with the story that you were playing hide and seek when your boyfriend ends up dead in a suitcase. Where have I heard her come up with a ridiculous story before? Silly sword fighting with steak knives. Can you imagine going to the emergency room? Yeah, we were just being... First of all, I'm getting the silly like Jerky Boys. Yeah, we were just being silly guys. And we were sword fighting with steak knives. And, you know, we were sword fighting, and then I lost, and he got me in the...
And from there...
How did you get to the hospital?
Originally, he told me to drive, and because of the amount of alcohol that he drank, and I couldn't. So he got into the driver's seat and drove me, and the entire time he's barking at me to make sure that I get the story straight. We're sword fighting, okay? We were drunk, you know,
did you go
being
to
silly. Yes.
All right, and did you get treated there?
Yes. I was bloody, and...
All right, so I gotta... For everyone who hasn't heard this story yet, for everyone... Because when I'm listening to the story, I'm like, she almost died. She got stabbed in the femoral artery, and she almost bled out. The lips are blue. She must have got stabbed in the thigh, the femoral artery. But just wait till you see this. Am I the only one? If you haven't heard the story, where were you picturing her being stabbed? If you haven't heard this story,
all right, let me show you the photograph. Can I show you these? Yes. All right, is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury to your leg?
Yes. I had to go to 2 different hospitals for it.
And you lied to medical personnel about how this happened?
Yes, they brought in sheriffs and everything.
Was it consistent with... They brought in sheriffs? Did you have to answer to the law enforcement officer?
Yes.
Did you stick with the story that you and George had agreed?
I did.
Judge, I'd like to offer this composite tip.
Okay. It was pre-marked as K. Will be received into evidence without objection.
it's on her fucking calf. It's on her calf. This is not where I was picturing. Maybe it's just me. I was not picturing it on her fucking calf muscle.
Stabling, do you want it?
Yes.
Is this a close-up of the stabling?
Gross.
Yes.
Did you hurt your foot?
No, due to the injury, I had other problems with the surgery.
Okay.
Like, just think, I'm just trying to imagine how they're on the bed. How does he get her in the calf?
But you eventually recovered?
Eventually, yes.
Do you have a scar to that effect?
I do.
So can you step down and show me?
Mr. J?
Okay.
Out.
They can probably see it from there.
Is this the injury here? Looks like there's an admission.
That's it.
All right, I'm showing you identification T. You recognize that photograph? You got an injury to your lip and to your face. Do you recall this event?
I was trying to sleep, and
Have y'all been drinking?
I'm sure. I know that he had been drinking. This was one of the instances where I would go upstairs to try to go to sleep. And
But y'all drank together a lot, did you not?
sometimes, yes.
So there were times where he wanted to stay up and continue to drink, and you wanted to go to bed.
Many times, yes.
You were done. He was not.
Correct.
Was that one of these times?
Yes.
So tell us what happened.
I'm sleeping in the bed, sound asleep, and he comes into the room and grabs me by my hair a lot of the times. And from here, he scratched me from trying to grab me, and then grabbed my hair and pulled me off of the bed, and then raked my face across the carpet. These are carpet burns.
To your lips?
Yes.
What about to the, it looks like the eyebrow area?
That's from where he, from grabbing me, scratched me and got a hold of me by my hair.
Why was he mad at you?
Because I wasn't downstairs with him
He wanted you to be drinking with him?
all the time.
All right, I'd like to introduce identification. Oh. All right, you see the injury between the eyes and the injury to the lip?
Yes.
Why does this fucking guy put it sideways every time? Why does he put it sideways every time?
As you described.
Yes, and then like gone to a bar across the street within walking distance, and at some point I asked a guy, or he asked me, somehow or another it was over a cigarette, and he left, and I didn't know where he went, and the bartender said, oh, he left, he took your car and he left. So
why would he do that?
well, I found out when I got home it was because I spoke to another man, and so I paid the tab and I walked home, and he's sitting on the back porch with the handle of vodka, and I was walking on eggshells and terrified and kind of treaded lightly when I came in, and he acted all natural and fine. So I didn't know the reason why that he had just gotten up and left with my car. So then he calls me a whore, and then he calls me a slut, and then he calls me a cunt, and gets up and pushes me. And he pushed me with both of his hands so hard that we have this little area where our washer and dryer is, and there are metal doors that are on it. And he pushed me into the metal door. And then I fell back, and he got his knees on top of me, on my arms here, so I was pinned down, and was starting to strangle me, and hit my head up against the metal closet over and over and over and over and over it again, and calling me a fucking whore, and you're such a slut, and fuck you, and everything. And my tongue was flopping out of my mouth, and I thought I was going to bite my tongue off. And because of the amount of noise I guess my head was making on the metal door, he slid me down and got back on me, and then started to strangle me again. And it was on, we have carpet, but it's like concrete. And I was able to get my arms out from underneath and grab his throat and get him off of me. So I got him off of me, and I pushed him off, and he came up and he goes, you fucking bitch, and he stomped my face. And the next thing I know, I woke up. I obviously blacked out. I'm obviously, I guess, yes. And he was passed out on the floor, and I woke up frantic, looking for my phone, and I immediately called 911.
Okay. The police arrived on that incident?
Yes, they did.
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained as a result of him kicking you?
Stomp.
Is defense 8.
Was that the next day, or is that a few days later?
That's a couple of days later.
Right. And that's the bruising from the kicking of the eye?
Yes.
Now, the police... And then I'm going to go through these others. I'm showing you identification V defense. Do you recognize that? You have to see it.
Yes.
Can you identify that picture?
Yes.
Is that your leg?
Yes.
And is that was like the injury to your knee?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained to your knee?
Yes.
Do you remember how that happened?
Yes.
Did you tell the jury?
I was trying to get off of the back porch, and he grabbed me and pushed me, and it was a rock or a really sharp piece of mold from him grabbing me and pushing me onto the ground, and I guess I just happened to hit my knee just right on whatever it was.
Were y'all drinking?
Yes.
Why did he push you?
Because I wanted to get off of the back porch.
He wanted to stay out there?
Yes.
He wanted you to be with him? What's the deal with him wanting to be with you all day?
Insecurity, I guess. I don't know.
Did you do your best to please him?
And then some, yes.
All right, I'd like to introduce the evidence identification. Okay.
What was pre-marked as V will be received into evidence without.
The first aid kit that I had for my son, and I just cleaned it up.
You what?
I said I got the first aid kit that I had for my son, and I just cleaned it up and put a Band-Aid on it.
Gordon, I'm showing you identification W. What's identification? You recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What is that photograph of?
This is a photograph of my arm.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the arm with some type of injury?
Yes.
Do you remember this event?
Multiple times, yes.
Well, we're talking about this isolated event where this photograph was taken, the injury you sustained.
Yep.
Who injured your arm?
George Torres.
Do you remember this event?
Yes.
Did you tell the jury about it?
This was one of the instances where I would try to pull away from him, and I don't know how my arm started to do this, but from him pulling from this way, how hard he would pull, with me trying to struggle to get away from him, it would leave these bloody under the skin splotches.
So he wouldn't hit you sometimes, he would just grab you and pull you?
Yes, from me trying to pull away from him, that's the point of it doing this, from me pulling away from him.
Now this is one of the many times y'all were both intoxicated?
I mean, I can't say for sure, but yes, but whenever it would happen, yes, it would be thinking.
Identification W and evidence.
What was pre-marked as W will be received.
It doesn't look like a wound or anything.
Objection to commentary. Sustained.
Tell me, you said it's just from the grip? Him losing his grip?
Yes, it would be from me pulling away from him, and whatever under the skin it was that it was disturbed from, the amount of pressure of him holding and then pulling from me would create those on my arms.
Okay.
This is a
Of the injury you sustained.
side of my head.
Julie with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Julie.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction
Yes.
of the injury you sustained by George Torres?
Yes.
Do you remember this event?
Yes.
Were you drinking?
I at the time was not very young.
On this event, you had not consumed any alcohol.
I mean, I may have earlier. This was another. I was in the bed trying to sleep.
Where was George?
Downstairs drinking.
All right, and so you were wanting to go to bed, and he wanted you to stay down there with him?
Yes, I was in the bed.
All right, tell the jury what happened on this event.
I believe this was the instant where I was in the bed and I used to barricade the door with our dresser.
Why didn't you just lock it?
All of the locks were broken in my house.
Why?
They were from George taking them in, including my son's. At one point I could seek refuge in my son's room, but he broke that one as well.
Well, tell me, explain how that happens. Tell the jury. We can't read your mind.
George wants me, which he has told me numerous times, that I am to be with him at all times and doesn't like to be apart from me or away from me. So whenever it was even just to go to the bathroom sometimes, he would go with me. And you have to understand, I have a 2-story, 900 square foot townhome, so there's not many places to go. So it just happened to be that it would be upstairs or downstairs, or I'd be in a particular room or not. So inevitably.
Did you want some time away?
Yes, I did. Even if it were just him upstairs or me downstairs or vice versa. So I rarely got to sleep. This was one of the instances because I had barricaded the door with our, 200-pound dresser that we had. And then I had my nightstand barricaded up against the bed, to where it was even more difficult from the prior times of him breaking in. And he would, I don't know how he would ever do it, but he would get himself in through the crack of the door that he would be able to wedge the dresser in the nightstand. And he pulled me out of the bed and told me I was going to die. And I believe it's this infant, and punched me, and
Punched you in the side of the head?
yes, in my temple and everything.
Was it an open fist or a closed fist, or do you know?
It was fully closed.
Like identification X introduced in the
was pre-marked as X will be received without objection as Defense Exhibit 11.
This exhibit. Not you?
Yes.
Did you get any treatment for that? Medical treatment?
I know the police came, but I don't remember. I remember it hurt for a good solid 2 weeks after that.
Was this one of the incidents where the police were called?
Yes.
Now, do you recognize this photograph, which is identification Y?
Yes.
Was that the date of the incident? The date of this event?
No, it happened prior. I mean, but this picture that was taken of the.
This picture would have been taken February 24th of 2020?
Yes.
And do you recognize that as your close-up facial shot?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how your face looked on February 23rd of 2020?
Yes.
What's the significance of this picture?
Again, because I was sleeping, George was upset with me and came in with a metal curtain rod and bent it and snapped it in half and then crunched me in the forehead with it. And then started to beat the furniture that was in the bedroom. This is probably a good month before or after it had happened, before I really do believe that I should have gotten stitches, but I was not allowed to go to the hospital.
Judge, I'd like identification Y introduced into evidence.
It was a gash.
This thing occurred. Now, this was photographs that were taken. I guess it would have been the crime scene. Was the crime scene the investigator that came out and took photographs?
I don't remember who it was, but yes, someone did on the day of the incident.
Was it different from the extraction, the phone extraction expert? Was it somebody different?
I think.
But is this Boone right here?
Yes. And remember, that's a month later.
And then on that same date, same time, they took this photograph as well, which is identification R.
Yes.
All right, and what does that depict?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat, and
Is that an injury to your hand?
it's a bruise.
Was that taken February 23rd, 2020, when the investigators came out?
February 24th, I believe.
February 24th? I'd like to introduce identification R to evidence. Copy of the copy. But February 24th of 2020, is that what you were wearing? Is that you?
Yes.
And there's some discoloration up here of your palm. You see that?
I do.
Is that from you jabbing him with a baseball bat?
Sustained.
Do you know how you suffered that injury?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat.
When you poked him with it?
Yes, trying to get his hand back in.
Five photographs. Can you look at those? Depictions? Your TV?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Are those stills of a videotape that you took?
Yes.
And is that videotape, was it on your phone?
Yes.
So when law enforcement seized the phone, they would have had access to this video?
I believe so, yes.
And tell me about it.
Lucas liked to watch cartoons and play video games on the big screen, this is the big screen, and I would have to call Brian to come over sometimes to help me figure out the Fire Stick and whatever platform or whatever it was that Lucas was trying to view his shows and video games on. And I don't remember how George found out that Brian had come over. I believe because it was actually fixed and he knew that I didn't know how to do it. Found out that Brian had come over to fix it, and
Was he jealous of Brian?
I don't know if he was jealous of Brian. I think that he had a fear that I somehow would go back to Brian. So I think by Brian helping me with things for Lucas. He just didn't want him to be interacting with me at all.
So Lucas wasn't over here this day, was he?
No.
Ryan wasn't over here this day.
He may have been. I can't remember when he actually fixed the television for Lucas.
But y'all were drinking this day.
I know he was for a fact, yes.
Chances are you were.
Probably so, yes.
Okay.
I would agree.
So how did it end up badly?
He accused me of sucking Brian's dick and told me that he was going to break my face with a bat and that he was going to make me unrecognizable to my son with the bat. And then told me that he's going to destroy my fucking television and then I was going to remove it from the apartment. And if I didn't, I was going to be, again, unrecognizable to my son.
So did he grab the bat?
Absolutely. He already had that in his hand, and he told me that I had to videotape it.
Did you videotape it voluntarily?
No.
All right, but there is a video, but I'm going to go ahead and ask Judge if I can introduce this identification of these 5 photographs into evidence.
Okay. Is it O or N?
I have O in a composite for 5.
Be received into evidence with.
All right, so these are some stills from the video. This was George that particular day holding the bat.
Yes, telling me that I'm going to take the television out once he destroys it.
He wanted you to take the television out?
That or I was going to help him, but either way I was taking it apart and removing it.
And what is this picture of?
In the process of him destroying my television.
While you're videotaping?
Correct.
Is that the result?
No. After that, he ripped it off of the TV stand.
Did you later pass out?
Yep, like he usually does.
What's he drinking in?
Just got 3 coffees from Deanna. Jay, nobody makes me belly laugh while watching trials more than you. Thanks. Thank you so much, Deanna.
I don't know. Vodka and something, I'm sure.
I'm showing you identification N. Did you recognize that?
It's my living room in the stairwell.
All right, was that a photograph taken by a crime scene?
Correct.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of your living room and stairwell?
Yes.
And I'm going to try to introduce this as identification 9 as an exhibit.
Was pre-marked as N.
This is my living room. This wall that we have over here with the heart, that's where we would display all of our artwork. We were in the process of taking it down to add more so he could continue to be entertained. The bookshelf over here is my son's bookshelf with all of his toys and little guns and musical instruments. He's got a little karaoke machine down here, his guitar. The stand right here with the red bucket on it, that was the television stand. And then my back porch area and the dog bed here.
Okay. And it looks like in front of the bookshelf at the foot of the stairs is that a doggy?
It's a baby gate, but my dogs would wander upstairs sometimes and go to the bathroom sometimes when we couldn't get them out. So I would, at nighttime, or whenever we weren't home, make sure that they didn't go upstairs. And plus, Penny was blind.
There's an allegation that you pushed George down the stairs?
Apparently.
Or got him in the suitcase upstairs and pushed him down the stairs?
Supposedly.
Did that occur?
Absolutely not.
Is that bookshelf disturbed in any way?
No, nor the plant next to it.
I'm showing you composite 2 photographs, identification M. You look at those 2 and see if you recognize them.
Yes, this is me sitting on the back porch with my dogs. And as you can see that we are both drinking.
All right, who's taking the picture?
I'm guessing George is, or maybe it's one that Lucas, Lucas wasn't over here, so it had to be George.
How can you tell y'all are drinking?
Because there's a cup here and then he has a beer.
All right. And there's 2 dogs. There's one sitting next to you. Who's that?
That's Penny. She's the blind dog. I used to have to pick her up to put her somewhere so she would stay there because she was unfamiliar with the area, especially since we moved from my marital home to the townhome. So most of the time Penny would be close or next to me.
Who's next to the film?
This is little guard dog Tess. She was the deaf dog. And this is the fence here.
Well, I'll show you.
Okay, but this is Tess, and then this is deaf, blind. Penny and Tess.
All right, and then the second one.
This is Tess on the back porch, taking a nap. She was never far from me.
All right, when George was sober, how did he treat the dog?
Nice. I don't know if he was a pet person, but I mean he was nice. If I needed him to feed them, he would feed them.
Were there times when George was drinking where he would threaten to harm the dog?
All the time.
You're going to have to tell the jury.
One of the worst threats was Penny being blind. He would actually leave the gate open in the back. He wouldn't threaten me to do it. He would actually do it on nights that I had to go up to sleep or I fled the night before or something. And would tell me that he hoped that I would come back and find her bloated body dead in the pond across the way from our townhome. And Tess was notorious if I wasn't there to go look for me, and would say that he would hope that I would have to scrape up her dead body from the street that was out in front of our apartment complex.
Why was George upset with you? Why would he threaten to harm the dog?
Anything that he could get to try to have some type of hold over me.
Control.
And he knew I loved my dogs very much, especially that they were handicapped.
Were they afraid of him?
Yes. Penny would hear his voice and instantly go underneath the dining room table that we had. Tess was always fractious and very, very quick with his movements, but she was never...
That's number 2, fractious.
Never far away. They never showed their teeth. They never growled. Tess would occasionally bark, but it was very rare. And he used to kick them and just...
For what reason would he kick them?
And another notorious.
Penny would try to find me because she's blind.
Speculating in the mind of the dog.
Sustained.
I'd like to move identification in and the evidence.
Any objection? What's pre-marked as M will be received into evidence without objection as defense 16.
This is again our back porch, and this is the fence that I made for the dogs to have a little bit extra space. Penny is next to me. She's the blind dog, and then Tess is down here guarding the gate.
Are these fake rabbits? Is that...
Yes. I used to call my son when he was a baby. He was my bunny rabbit.
Overruled.
He was my bunny rabbit, so I used to collect bunny rabbits, and so I have rabbits here and there throughout my house and in my little garden area.
All right, this is the alcohol you are consuming?
Yes.
And this is a close-up of which one?
This is Tess, she's the deaf dog.
How old were these dogs at that time, 2020?
Gosh, maybe 9, maybe 10.
Yes. Six this evening. Would you like to take an afternoon break? All right, members of the jury, it's 4:03. By show of jury. Okay, court sees no hands. We may have to work also a little bit past 5 o'clock, maybe going between. Last break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. All right, with that, Mr. Owens, you may continue your inquiry, sir.
Just based on the court statements, identification A, I'd like to. This is one of the photographs that we introduced. Is this injury to your ear?
Yes.
And then this is your living room. This is identification C, the blow up.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to the dogs, but I gotta assume they're in a better place than living with those two.
Identification D.
This is just him showing the jury the pictures we all saw.
Back patio, and earlier in the evening when I think y'all may have been out on the back patio, and you had suggested to George to call the children, but then did he call his brother, or his brother called George? Do you remember?
George called his brother.
Okay. And you made a statement about tell him something. Explain that to the jury.
I told him to tell his brother about you choking me the other day. This is a separate choking incident. We had been drinking, and I wanted George to tell him, but he didn't tell him, so I said it in the background, so he would be aware.
What did you tell him?
Tell him why you choked me, or that you choked me.
Good. Now, you heard the testimony of the two neighbors, the boys that lived next to you,
Yes.
and you heard that they were actually questioned. I think the audio, they were audio interviewed. You heard from Detective Copsel. I think it was a couple of days later on the 25th of February, or 20.
If you guys missed it, her two neighbors testified they heard a loud noise, paper-thin walls, and one specifically said it sounded like the noise started at the top of the staircase and ended at the bottom. Loud noise. And now she's going to say she's going to try to explain what it is.
27th of February.
Yes.
And you heard their testimony earlier this week.
Yes.
Where they hear a kind of a thumping sound starting at the top of the steps, ending at the bottom.
Yes.
Have they got the night wrong?
Yes.
So explain to the jury that.
But before she explains it, Shari D, $10 Cash App. Thank you so much, Shari D. I really appreciate it.
So it was the night before. Again, I was sleeping, and in the middle of the night with the door barricaded, he came in and ripped me out of the bed. And first got me with one hand, and then got both hands and pulled me completely off of the bed. And then, like a caveman, had my hair like this and was going down the stairwell, taking me with him to come downstairs so I could sit and drink with him.
Do you believe that's the noise that the two neighbor boys heard?
I absolutely do.
Yeah, it was just the night before.
Correct.
Now, some of the time when this abuse occurred, you called the police.
Yes.
And other times the police were not called.
Correct.
I want to refer to you the first time, I believe, you mentioned the 911 call. I believe that was July 25th of 2018.
Yes.
And that was the incident in which Georgia kicked you in the eye.
Stomped me, yes.
Stomped you in the eye. And you had grabbed his neck.
Yes, I was able to get my arms out from him pinning me down with his knees and grab his neck.
So law enforcement came and investigated.
Yes.
And both of you were arrested.
Correct.
Do you recall asking the officer when you were arrested, why am I being arrested?
Many times, yes.
Do you recall asking the officer, why am I being arrested?
Yes.
And do you recall making any other statements to law enforcement as to why you did what you did to George?
That was the first time ever that I actually officially fought back.
Did you tell the officer that you were fighting back?
Yes, because I was in complete shock that I was getting arrested because of it.
Now, on the 2-minute video, the suitcase video, you mentioned to him, I think you said something, I can't breathe. He said, I can't breathe, and you said, that's how I feel when you're choking me. Were you referring to an isolated incident of the night before, 2 nights before, or whatever, or were you referring to in general?
In general, the more than 2 or 3, 4 times that he had done it.
Okay. And then the part about cheating, he didn't physically cheat on you.
No, he did not.
Okay. And just, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but what are you referring to there?
George was, I believe, addicted to pornography, and a lot of...
Oh boy, the porno part. Here we go. And yes, I agree. Her blinks were out of control.
George was, I believe, addicted to pornography, and a lot of that would be found on my phone from him supposedly wanting to call up job interviews. And as a solution, I sat him down and I explained to him, to me, that's you visualizing yourself with someone else, or at least having a pleasurable moment with someone else or watching other people. And to me, I told him that I considered that cheating on me.
Okay. And so he would download that on your phone?
Yes.
Why did you stay with him? You got to tell the jury.
As anyone...
All right. Who's ready? Who's ready to hear Sarah Boone's definition of love, folks? Here it comes. Sarah Boone is explain to everyone what love is. I want to know what love is. Sarah's going to tell you.
You got to tell the jury.
As anyone who has ever been in love, or when you love someone, or primarily someone or something, you go above and beyond, and you tolerate, and you endure, and you persevere, and you try to make that person as spectacular as you possibly can, no matter the sacrifice that you may have to go through to serve someone else in a positive light, so they can be better people for themselves, and to just make them a happier person. And love is very strong, and love is very deep, and love, I believe, is not fully understood in a lot of ways for how different people react to it. And I very much, deeply, and passionately...
And also it means never having to say you're sorry.
I really love George. I love him to this day.
Did you not want to be alone?
Beginning through my divorce, it was very nice to have him around, and he was a man to me, and I felt protected, and he's very nice, and as lame as it sounds, he used to compliment me, and it made my day. So yes.
During that period of time when you first started seeing George, would it be fair to say that you had low self-esteem?
Yes.
Now, we talked about this previous arrest where you told the officer you were fighting back and you got arrested. Now, I want to talk about your conversations with law enforcement, but first I want to ask you, why did you go to the police station that day when you were interrogated there and we saw the 2-hour video? Tell the jury.
The day of the incident, the detective Copsell gave me her business card with her personal cell phone number on it, and said if I happened to remember anything or anything that I would like to add to the day, for me to not hesitate to give her a call. So throughout the rest of the evening, something was off. I didn't feel comfortable with what she...
I love her. Something was off. There was something off when I was talking to the detective about when she found my boyfriend dead in a suitcase. Something was off with her. I'm not sure what it was, but the detective that was investigating the murder of my boyfriend who was found dead in a suitcase, there was something off about her.
She told me and how she told it to me.
How long were you at the scene?
Gosh, all day. From the moment that they were there to the moment that the coroner's van drove off.
All right, when it ended, did you stay in your home?
No, I raced inside and collected some pajamas and a toothbrush, and I went over to where my son was at my ex-husband's house.
Did you take the dogs?
I didn't even feed them. It was so fast.
All right, and then once you got over to your ex-husband's, what happened? As it relates to Detective Koppel.
Something just wasn't sitting right with me, and I had a suspicion that she just wasn't being honest with me, so I took it upon myself.
Sustained.
So you called her. Tell us about that.
I called her and I told her that I felt that she was being dishonest with me. She originally had told me that due to her being pregnant, it would just be a lot easier for her to have me come down to the station to pick up my phone. The original plan was for she and Detective Lowen to return the phone to my apartment. But she said that it would be a lot easier for me to just come down and pick it up because I remember when I was pregnant. That's what she said. You remember when you were pregnant. So I said, I feel that you're tricking me, and I feel that you're being very sneaky about something, and I don't believe that you're being honest with me. And I said, regardless, I'm still going to come.
Sustained.
I love that she's trying to get the jury to feel bad for her because she thinks the detective was lying to her.
So you agreed to come, but you understood it was to get your phone?
Correct.
All right, you came that afternoon to the station?
I did.
And the original agreement was they were to come to you?
Correct.
All right. When you got to the station, what happened?
I thought I was just going to be picking up my phone. I had my car.
Can you believe this, jury? I thought I was just going to be picking up my phone, and they arrested me after they found my boyfriend dead in my house in a suitcase I zipped him up in. Can you believe this? They didn't give me my phone, and they arrested me.
I was there. I had everything in my car. It was just a regular. I'm just going to go in, maybe sign something, and pick up my phone. And there's people that are.
They lied to me. I asked to talk to a manager, and no one would let me speak to a manager, and then they arrested me? And I've been in jail.
Over here at the windows, and I thought that I was supposed to go over there to get my phone. And Detective Lowen came down and said that my phone was upstairs. So if I would just follow him upstairs, that's where my phone was. And then I was taken into I guess it was an interrogation room, and they told me to sit down, and that then I guess the interview or interrogation began, and I just simply kept getting my phone.
Sarah, tell the jury why.
Yes. You may proceed.
Miss Boone? Miss Boone? Tell the jury why you lied to the police.
I lied to the police. Basically everyone, because I was extremely fearful of being arrested. I made the first attempt of me calling 911 by telling them what happened, and I thought they were going to help me, but instead I was arrested for calling 911.
I was arrested for calling 911 after I killed someone. Can you believe this shit? I just killed someone, but I called 911 and then they arrested me. I was trying to help after I killed someone.
So you made the decision to lie?
I did.
Did you stay with that lie?
I did.
Are you telling the truth today?
I am.
Now let me take you back to the to this incident. Is it fair to say that when George Torres is sober, he commits no violence against you?
No.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that every time that he's intoxicated, or every time that you're hit by him or harmed by him, it's when he's intoxicated?
Yes.
As a result, when he's drinking, does it change your outlook?
Yes.
Could you explain that to the jury?
I'm always fearful, paranoia.
Why?
Because I try to protect and defend myself for fear something happens at the last ultimate second.
But you're always that way, fearful. Is it because
The last ultimate second.
of these prior incidences?
Absolutely.
Do you try to placate him?
All the time.
What do you mean?
With the puzzles and the painting and feeding the ducks across the way at the pond, listening to music, trying to go for a walk on the trail, anything that I possibly can. I told you I was running out of things to entertain him with.
Why do you think George, what bothers him?
Objection. Calls for speculation. Sustained.
Does he tell you?
Objection. Calls for hearsay. Sustained.
As a result of how he behaves towards you in that intoxicated state, how were you feeling the night of this event?
Objection. Asked and answered. Overruled.
Extremely nervous, anxiety galore, just, I can never relax.
When he's drinking?
Yes.
And the state of intoxication that he was at the time of this event, is that the state that scares you the most?
It's the tone, yes. There's a lot of alarms and red flags that go on throughout the day or night or whenever it is that we are drinking.
Objection. Non-responsive.
Sustained. Tell us about that. How that does that heighten your sense of safety?
At all times.
But especially when he's drinking?
Oh yes, all the time.
And then his mood?
Yes, it depends on what mood he's in that day.
Well, do you have like a sixth sense of how he's doing?
Yes, I knew George very well.
Objection. Non-responsive. Yes or no? Sustained.
Can you tell us what you mean by that? Sixth sense, or knew him very well?
I guess you can say that I was trained by fear with him. Just, it wasn't fun anymore when we would drink and we would hang out on the back porch. It wasn't fun anymore because I knew inevitably that something was going to happen to me. One
Inevitably, it wasn't fun anymore.
way or another.
She's like that kid in the interview who's like, apparently we did this and apparently we did, except she says inevitably.
Miss Boone, you know, those bruises that we saw of him, they look pretty deep. Tell the jury what you were thinking.
From the bat, you're...
Yes.
I didn't want to die that night. I can't describe it to you. It's terrifying love to a certain degree where...
Terrifying love. She's so fucking nutty.
My plan was to show him the next day and just, I wanted him to be better and treat me nicer and be the person that he was when I originally met him. And I knew that was in him still. I knew that it could be found and I just couldn't figure out what it was that I was doing wrong in order for it to not be back to where that was. And I was tired of living in fear and just sick all the time of figuring out how I can entertain him so I don't die and continue a relationship with my son and try to live a normal life. That wasn't a normal life for me. And just, bottom line is I didn't want to die.
I mean, that whole narrative right there just sounds like someone who's been planning this shit for a long time. Doesn't sound like someone who did something spur of the moment because she was scared.
I would have died, or I would have been disfigured or maimed, or if it weren't me with the bat, it would have been him if he were to have gotten out.
That's all.
Any cross-examination?
All right, so I think this is where I'm going to end it for the night because Publicly Buzz, if you're not subscribed already, is live right now. He's also doing a rewatch. I'm not sure what he's covering, but I think I'm going to save the cross for another night this week, hopefully with Alina Burrows when she gets her computer. She had some issues with her computer, hopefully, because she's been there. She's been to at least a few days, so I'd love to get her perspective. So I think I'm going to send you guys over to Publicly Buzz, who's live right now. If you're not already subscribed to them, you trust me, you'll like them. Steve has been covering this case, so I'm going to send you guys over there. I really appreciate you watching this with me, this rewatch. We'll do the cross possibly tomorrow night or later in the week. I really appreciate everyone being here. Thank you all so much for the super chats and the Venmos, all the things. And thank you for subscribing if you're new. Thank you so much. Thank you, mods, as always. Thank you, mods. You guys are the best. Thank you all. Have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much, everybody.